Heat up your frozen dinners, grab your TV tray, and settle in for another episode of the Plus Platoon, your podcast for all things Disney Plus, brought to you by Disney Plus fans. Watch along with us every week as we cover all the new, the old, the good, and the bad on Disney Plus. So put down that remote, don't touch that dial, and welcome your fabulous Plus Platoon host.
Hi, everyone. I'm Derek, and we are the Plus Platoon. The Plus Platoon is a Disney Plus fan podcast that gives honest, spoiler-filled reviews of movies and shows on Disney Plus. We look at new releases, coming attractions, and we'll even go back into the vault to revisit some of the classic Disney that's on the platform. Make sure you're subscribed, and you will never miss a moment. I would like to bring in Kate. Kate, how you doing this evening?
I'm doing so good. I get a good evening with my favorite tuners, so I'm good.
Yay. We are also joined by Rebecca. Rebecca, glad to see you back.
Yeah, it's been a week, but it's been an eventful one. But I'm glad to be here to talk about some new attractions tonight.
Yeah. And we have Sam. Sam, how's it going this evening?
Good to see you all. Although we just missed Kate for a second. I think she was trying to leave as soon as I came in. Thanks, Kate.
I was cleaning my camera.
But it's great to see you all. Great to be back, as I've been out for a couple of weeks as well. But it's so nice to see all my fellow platooners, or tuners, as we like to say.
Yeah. And Pete should be joining us shortly. He is running a little late this evening, but we are going to start off, as always, Kate, with the Disney Plus news. What have we got this week?
Bum, bum, ba-dum, bum, bum. It's a Disney Plus news. If you don't know, I have a different theme song every week that I make up 2 seconds before I have to say it. What's up, everybody? It is time for the Disney Plus news. We have a new trailer was released for Boba Fett series that is premiering on December 29th. The tagline is, "Every galaxy has an underworld." So this may go into some of the previously unseen areas. It shows him living in Jabba's palace and basically taking over his business empire. Fascinating for all you Star Wars fans. And last but not least, Hocus Pocus 2 has announced most of its cast, in addition to the original Sanderson sisters. Doug Jones, who played Billy, is also coming back. The rest of the cast will be new to the series. The plot has been revealed as a set of adolescent girls who have figured out a way to bring the sisters back to life. So it's a great new plot, unlike the original, in which an adolescent figures out a way to bring the sisters back to life. Really thinking outside of the box on this one. Thank you, Derek, for
So basically, it's got the same plot as the original movie, is what Kate was trying to tell you all.
Yeah.
Really inventive, really original.
That's fine. Great. So great. Back to you, Derek.
We got a good crowd with us tonight. We've got Marianne here, Gina's here talking about the hotels. Dawn has decided to join us.
Yay!
Vicky is here. We've got, and they're all saying, hi Rebecca, hi Sam. Mary's, Marianne's wondering where Pete is, and Gina says she can't wait for Fed Up. Mary Tracy, as long as they don't ruin our Hocus Pocus. Well, it sounds like the same movie, so it can't be that bad.
I guess if they do it a lot worse than the first, they could ruin it. So we'll see.
We'll see.
Good point.
Sadly, we have at least another year to wait for that one. So it breaks my heart. Okay. This week, we have gone back to the Behind the Attraction series. We have, this week, we are talking about the Castles episode and the Disneyland Hotel episode. Starting off with the Castles episode, Sam, I'm going to ask you, is the Castles episode worthy of a royal stay? Is it worthy of a royal visit?
Presenting the Royal Castle. I needed to do a Kate-inspired theme song for this one. I would say yes, this was worthy of a royal visit. Now, the Behind the Attraction series has not been my favorite series overall, but these 2 episodes, I would say, were actually my 2 favorites. Spoiler alert, the hotel one was my number 1 favorite. But this castle episode was really interesting. I learned a bunch of facts about the castles I didn't know. For example, about, I think it was the Hong Kong castle was reversed in a different direction than the castles at all the other theme parks because of feng shui issues, and they needed to have the mountains kind of behind the castle instead of the mountains to the side or in front of the castle. Just some really interesting facts. The original castle at Disneyland was not actually built at the spot that Walt had marked off where it should originally be built. So some really fun facts. Learned a lot about the castles around the world and how they were designed, and how castles in other locations, or parks in other locations, all wanted the Magic Kingdom castle from Walt Disney World. There's Pete. Hey, Pete. Welcome. So I thought it was an interesting episode. A lot of facts I didn't know. If you are a Disney history buff, this and the Disneyland Hotel episode will be the episodes for you. I would say even more than the other attractions episodes. What did you think, Pete?
Yeah. The castle episode, I love
totally
that kind of stuff.
I
Why are you
skipped.
laughing?
I'm sorry. I skipped Derek because I was wanting Pete to join in on the show right away.
He just 100% skipped Derek. That was awesome.
Okay, Derek, come on. You go.
Derek, you're muted, my dear. Which made it even better.
Yeah. That's okay. I'll just sit here and wait. No,
Go ahead, Derek.
this
But Pete
reminded
looked
me.
so nice with his tie and everything. I felt like he deserved a proper introduction.
This is a Haunted Mansion tie too. I got on, so.
Oh, nice. You know how the royalty has castles that they never visit in England, but sometimes might show up for? To me, that was this. If you have seen Imagineering Story, all this information is in Imagineering Story. I did not get anything much out of new from this. The highlight of the video for me was the Sleeping Beauty walkthrough at Disneyland when they showed that's up in the castle. Nothing wrong with it. I don't feel like it was a productive 45 minutes knowing that Imagineering Story is out there. Now, let's go to Kate. No, Pete. Okay, so what did you think of it, Pete?
I enjoyed this episode. I agree there wasn't really a lot new that I found out about it, but like the castles are the heart of the Disney parks. And so I appreciated that they didn't just do episodes that were about the rides, that they did something about the castles, which for the most part, there's not really much to the castles other than the visual of the castle. And so I thought, if you're not if you haven't seen the Imagineering Story and things like that, I thought it was cool. I really enjoyed the episode about the castles, and I was glad they went through all the different castles around the world, and you found out a little bit about each one of them. So I thought it was cool. Kate?
Yeah.
Did you start?
This was not Sam started. This was not my favorite of all of the ones we have watched of the Behind the Attraction. But I found it very fascinating. Sam, I think what you were saying about the feng shui and how the castles all face the south, which I thought was really great. And I loved when they were talking about Disneyland Paris and how they first of all, I never knew that there were that many castles in France, like 45,000 castles or something. And I loved, I also shout out to so many women Imagineers that were working on these castles. Like there were so many women Imagineers, shout out to them. But I loved it when they talked about this. What stood out to me most was Disneyland Paris. Also, how Walt, being such a forward thinker, like, no, he didn't do a Snow White castle. He did a Sleeping Beauty castle, and the movie hadn't even come out yet. Like, if that doesn't show you Walt Disney in a nutshell, like, that is Walt. He was always thinking ahead. He was always thinking forward. And as a
Genius
marketing.
Genius
Marketing. And as a business person, like, it literally boggles my mind. And then to be like, yeah, we've got this castle. Let's take it a step further with the dragon. And it was so good. Oh, excuse me. But yeah, I just loved all of the innovation. And can you imagine just being the guy who got the call or the email that said, can you build a castle? And then he showed it to his friend, and his friend was like, I think they want you to build a castle. And he was like, I cried. I called my wife and I cried. And those moments just make all of these people seem so human to me. So, Rebecca, what about you?
It's hard because I know I want to talk positively about the show's content, but the way it's produced is so cringy for me. Like, I really love the way that the behind the series, like the other series that we have that are behind how the animations are created and in the different roles that are in Disney and all of those things are very serious. All of these behind the attractions ones seem so put together last minute, kind of high school project type. And I know that it's not that way. So I have to like look outside of the production value that went into this and focus on content. Content wise, I think that they throw a lot at you and it's constantly moving, especially this castle episode. They had 6 castles to get through. And so they were constantly going one to the next. So I liked that there was a lot of information there. I think the one thing that I would have loved to just be a part of or see in the future is a organized chaos of just running into the park down the street to see the castle. To me, that was probably the one part that stuck out to me most about the Disneyland castle. I guess what I didn't know was that some of the castles overseas wanted exact replicas of Disney World. So that was really interesting to me to see. I've only seen the Disney World castle, so it doesn't have that forced perspective like I know Main Street does. So to me, it is just this monstrous tower.
Yeah,
they told us it did.
It has it. It's just
the top is still. It's just not as much.
Yeah, it's not as much as it's not as much as Disneyland because
it's like but it's like over 100 feet taller than the Disneyland castle. So I guess it doesn't. To me, it doesn't look like it has that, right? And so that to me was also interesting that I just didn't know that they had wanted exact replicas and copies of that castle because it is really beautiful. So I'm glad that happened. But content wise, I think this is a great series. I want them to do more rides besides just like the classic ones that they've put out. And we'll get to the hotel one in a second. But I think this episode specifically was good because, like Pete had said, the castles are very iconic in terms of going to Disney World and going to, any Disney park around the world. So I'm glad that we got to see a lot more information just about how they were created. So yeah.
And Gina says she agrees about the interesting castle facts. Mary says Pete's right. The castle is a centerpiece. I like that they had a show focusing on the castles. Also calls it like a public relations project. I would say it's more of a sales pitch of hey, come see this stuff at our parks. Come see this stuff at our parks. By the way, we need people to come to our parks. And Gina says why she likes it. But
I feel like that has kind of been a lot of these episodes have been like that, especially the Jungle Cruise episode.
Yeah, I would say the behind the attractions is on the fluffier side of these type of things when we talk about like the Imagineering story being much more like data focused or whatever you want to call it, like information focused. These are fluff, but I still think they're interesting. I still think they're giving us interesting facts, and I think they're pointed towards people that maybe aren't experts in the Disney parks, and I think they're still a lot of fun.
Okay. Now, speaking of castles, guys, what is the best Disney parks castle? Rebecca, we're going to start with you. What's the best Disney parks castle?
So, like I previously said, biased wise, I feel like I can only speak on the ones that I've seen. Disney World has to be my favorite, but the one that I am most excited to see that I know I will see is probably Shanghai. I can't even imagine just how absolutely massive it is. And after watching this episode and seeing pictures of it happen, while it was being built and stuff, I need to go see it. I've always wanted to visit Asia and just those countries in general anyway. I'm Tokyo as well, but Shanghai for me is one of my goals that I need to go see. But again, I don't want to speak on things that I'm not really sure about. So Disney World, and I will say the updated Disney World, the one that they have now, I like the pink more than the old Cinderella blue. So pink Disney World castle, my favorite. Sam?
I am going to give a very specific castle, kind of similar to what Rebecca just said. She picked the pink Disney World Cinderella's castle. So I have been to Disneyland Paris, and Disney World. I have not been to any of the Asia parks. So I'm not going to pick those because I haven't seen them in person, even though I've seen them in videos. There's ones obviously I'd love to see in person. But even though I'm a Disneyland person, I'm going to tell you that the castle that I love the most is the 25th anniversary Cinderella's cake castle.
Ew.
I love that cake castle.
I mean,
look at
Did you
that
see it in
Mary
person?
me.
Oh,
Yes, I was there. I was there during the 25th anniversary. I thought it was so fun because it's like so cartoony. It's over the top, cartoony with candy. It looks like Hansel and Gretel house. I loved it because it's so weird and so cartoony. Derek, I know you hate me, but whatever. So you're next.
yeah, we're gonna go to a 3-person show next week, I think. But for me, I'm going a little out of the box here. It's Cinderella Castle at Tokyo. It's the original paint job on the Cinderella Castle. That for me is the most iconic castle. I'm hoping Magic Kingdom goes back to that in 2023. I'm not holding my breath, but I'm hoping it does, because one reason I have optimism for that, all the Lego sets, all the promotional material, all the models are still the white and blue. So I'm hoping they just did this for the anniversary, realized their mistake, like with the Cake Castle, and move back. Pete, how about you?
J'adore le Château de la Belle à Bois de Mont.
How many times did you have to practice that? I'm just curious.
That was the first time I tried it, so that's pretty good.
Nice.
No, I love the Florida castle, but I'm really excited someday to see the one in France. I really think that it's very fantastical. They talked about it on the show that it's really a fantasy castle, and so I'm very excited to see that castle someday. So that would be of the castles I've seen images of, that's the one I'm most looking forward to seeing. I do love the Magic Kingdom Florida castle. It's so big. You walk down Main Street. I mean, I've seen both the Disneyland and, I go to Disneyland and I'm like, this castle so tiny. It's not
so tiny.
It just doesn't work for me. I love the Florida one, but I'm really excited to someday see the one in France. So what about you?
Yeah. So, full disclosure, I have only ever experienced Disneyland and Disney World. I think Disneyland probably has the better castle only because it's the original. It's the one that Walt walked through. It's like that nostalgia. Now, that being said, Walt Disney World Castle is by far my favorite, but I am super partial. I have performed on the castle stage hundreds of times, and gotten to, I mean, my break room literally was in the castle. I've been
That's
in the
so
Cinderella
cool.
suite multiple times. There is something, it will always make me choked up to walk through that castle. It will always, there is something just so magical about it. I a little bit disagree with Rebecca. I actually liked the blue, only because it set it apart from the Disneyland castle. Because Disneyland is pink. That's the only reason. I think it's so beautiful. I think the pink is so beautiful. It really is. But I liked that silver and that blue color to offset the difference there. But I can tell you, there is nothing like standing on the castle stage and telling people that dreams come true. Like, there's nothing like it. So
Dreams come true.
Yep, that is, it's the Disney World castle for me.
I didn't think that the blue one was like the ugliest thing I've ever seen. I'm not saying that it was like disgusting, but to me, it compared to the pink that it became, it looked washed out. Like when I see the pictures now, and contrasted to how colorful Main Street is too, looking at the end of this corridor of Main Street, you just see this kind of blue and white that contrasts with the clouds and the sky. And to me, the pink just shone so much. It was literally, it popped. So my compromise would be a brighter, more pigmented blue. I think Cinderella's blue, right?
Agreed.
Like that's her dress. So
Agreed.
if we did go back to something and maybe keeping the gold, I think the gold on top of the spindles would be beautiful, and just making the base of the castle just a more pigmented blue, I think would be nice too.
Yeah, I love that.
I will say that one thing I miss from staying on property was the ferry ride over to the Magic Kingdom in the mornings and seeing the castle come up. That was always, because we never stayed on property when I was young. So that was always the, okay, we're finally at Disney, is coming around that island and seeing the castle get bigger. One thing I liked about the White Castle is it was brighter on sunny days. It shone, the bright white just glowed. So to me, that's one reason I liked the white. Let's go see some of the comments back here. We've got Vicky saying that Sleeping Beauty Castle, it's the original use of intellectual property in the parks. Yes. And I like, Kate, how you mentioned how far ahead he was thinking on that.
It was brilliant.
I will say, though, the fact that they had to rotate the top 180 degrees so it didn't just look like Neuschwanstein kind of says something on the originality of it. But anyway, Steve says Disneyland Paris because of the cool dragon in the basement. Yes, that was really awesome. Gina says, go in 2023, Pete. There's a group of them going with Sandy. So Ryan says it's Disneyland Paris. And
Marianne agreed with me.
Marianne's comment made me laugh out loud, but luckily I was muted. So
yeah, the cake castle, cake. Yeah. And then Sam goes along and actually agrees with her. So, no accounting for taste.
Hey.
Okay.
Oh, that I don't understand that.
It's
my wife's first trip was for that castle.
Fun.
But when you think about, that's the only castle some people have ever seen.
Yeah, that's kind of weird.
Yeah.
Yes.
I just thought it was very weird, but in such a fun, cartoony way. And that's what I listen, I was also a teenager at the time, right? So it was like, right. So I was there for my 16th birthday on the 25th anniversary. And it was just so fun. I had been to Disney World before, and Disneyland before. And so but it was just the first time I'd ever seen the castle look different, right? Like I'd seen Sleeping Beauty Castle, I'd seen Cinderella Castle, but I'd never seen the castle look any different. It always looked the same. I still love it. I still talk about it. I still remember it from, 25 years ago.
Right? We all remember it.
Yeah.
From 25 years ago, though, people still talking about it, so you know it's memorable.
That's
It's
along the
I
lines-
don't
memorable.
I've only seen pictures of it, but maybe twice. So when it doesn't even pop. I mean, 25 years ago, I was not born, so,
Right. So exactly.
I had no idea that it had
Exactly.
popped up because it went away as fast as it came. So
Okay. The other episode we watched this week was about the Disneyland Hotel. And Kate, I'm going to go with you. For the episode, are you checking in on the episode or are you checking out? Which way you going?
Yeah, this was actually probably one of my favorite episodes from the Behind the Attraction. Totally honest, I have not stayed in a lot of Disney resorts, mostly because we didn't come to Disney when I was a kid because we didn't have a lot of money. And as soon as I moved to Orlando, I started working for Disney. And so I never had time to stay in a resort because I was always working at them. But I just found this episode fascinating. Between just the history of the Disneyland Hotel into the history of the Contemporary, which I have worked in and have been in many times, and the Polynesian, same thing. And again, it goes back to Walt and his vision. It boggles my mind that I never knew that of him saying, no, I don't, when they leave the park, I want the magic to continue. Oh my gosh. I know that we all have an appreciation for Walt Disney, but these two episodes and just his forward thinking just blows my mind. So, and how it wasn't just, no, you're going to come and sleep at the hotel and that's it. Like, no, we want you to still feel like you are part of the magic, that you have stepped away from your life and you are now in this beautiful, like, it's just, and yeah, Don said, and Jack, their vision, it just, like, I was just watching this one and I realized, oh my God, he's totally right. From everything, from how the cast members greet you. You walk into the Polynesian, they say aloha, like what they're wearing, how they speak to you, the way you're treated, the way the rooms look, even the smells. It's so good. And that is what sets Disney apart from any other big corporation like this, is that attention to detail. I would go back and rewatch this episode because I feel like I missed so much information. Yeah, I loved it. Rebecca, what do you got?
I really think I'm gonna be alone on this. It wasn't my favorite, and that is just because I care more about the parks and the rides and things more than the hotels. Not to say that the hotels aren't amazing. I've stayed in almost every hotel that's on Disney World property. I've never been to California or anywhere else. We do resort only stays, so I love the hotels and I love getting to spend time there. To me, just, and not most of it, but half of it is just that production quality that is of the show itself. It's hard to watch in the first place, so for it to be about something that to me just doesn't click, doesn't pique my interest, it's just hard to watch. I'm 100% informative. The stories are always amazing. I want that information just conveyed in a better way. For me, it just does not hit me the way that I receive information about history. I'm not a history person. I'm not person, anything like that. So it has to be a very specific way or about a big, huge interest for me. And that just unfortunately was not the case here. I had to just leave it on in the background type of thing. I couldn't really sit down and watch it because it just wasn't grabbing me like the other episodes. But it's not to say it wasn't amazing. It's just not, for me, the type of history on that hotel that I would like to see. So, Sam?
So I am the exact opposite of Rebecca on this, because I love Disneyland. I love Disneyland history, and I love the Disneyland Hotel. This was my hands down favorite episode of the Behind the Attraction series. As I said earlier, I wasn't a huge fan of the series initially, but these 2 episodes really turned me around. I loved learning everything about the Rather family. I did know that the Rathers had owned and controlled the hotel, but I didn't know a couple of interesting facts, like that they could have built Disneyland hotels in other places around the country and didn't, right? They had the rights to the name Disneyland Hotel. I didn't know, for example, that there was a dentist on site, that there was a pharmacy on site, that there was a liquor store on site, all of these things. Another thing that I thought was fascinating, and I hadn't realized it because the Disneyland Hotel and Disneyland were before I was born. Whereas Disney, Disney World was as well, but much closer. But Disneyland Hotel, I didn't realize that this was really the first hotel for families. That hotels prior to this time really were for the businessman, the business traveler, which were men at the time, right? So they didn't have, a second bed in the room, right? So they were innovative and did this Murphy bed thing. The idea that families would travel to go to an amusement park simply didn't exist before Disneyland. And it was a concept when they built the Disneyland Hotel. So they were doing this all on a hope and a prayer that Disneyland would catch on and that people would come, right? It's sort of a Field of Dreams, if you build it, they will come scenario, but you don't know if something like that is going to work. And then there was a comment, I don't remember who it was. Oh, it was Marianne, that she was amazed that Walt gave up so much control of the resort because it had his name on it. That's huge. I mean, everything else with the Disney name on it was controlled by Walt and Roy and the company, right? But the fact that he gave his friend Jack Rather the ability to use his name on his hotel. And then I have to mention this one other point, and then I'll pass it to Derek. But the fact that Mrs. Rather, I can't remember her first name, but the fact that it was essentially her dying wish to return the Disneyland Hotel, or to sell the Disneyland Hotel to Disney so that Disney would control it. So it couldn't get bought by some random third party sometime in the future. I thought that was lovely. Maybe a little bit of a bad financial decision on the part of her family to sell. Who knows? But I thought it was a beautiful and loving and wonderful thing, and a wonderful honor to, her family's memory, and a wonderful honor to Walt and Roy's memory as well. So loved it. Benita Granville, Dawn is telling me. Thank you, Dawn. Bunny. Derek, over to you.
I'm checking in, but I'm probably checking out before breakfast. And I'll explain why. I loved the first 30 minutes of this show. I loved a lot of it. I knew, but learning some of the process of getting the hotel set up, and then the process of getting it into the Disney portfolio. As Don says, it was crucial to Disneyland's success. Being able to have people stay there was critical for them. I'm leaving early. I did not like the fact that they went to all of the other hotels. If they had called this hotels, fine, wonderful. To call this Disneyland Hotel and then to spend at least a third of the episode talking about Contemporary and the Polly and the sales pitch for Alani and all those other things, not talking about the DVC tower they're building at Disneyland Hotel, to talk about all these other things, but not that.
Or Trader Sam's.
Or Trader Sam's, or any of it, I would. And again, Don definitely agrees with me. And for those of you who have watched it, Don is one of the historians in the show. So it's a great honor to have him on here tonight, by the way. And so the Disneyland Hotel stuff, I loved. The other stuff, it's one of those, okay, we have to throw something to the people that only like Disney World. So this is why we're going to have it in there.
Fair.
So
that's a totally fair criticism, Derek.
That's me.
Yeah, that is fair.
So I would have to say, I mean, I agree with you that I loved the Disneyland part of it, seeing the history of it. And again, seeing that, um, the Rather family kind of revolutionized vacation stays. I mean, if you think about it, like back then, the Disneyland was directed for Californians, right? It wasn't people flying from all over the country coming to it. But Anaheim was really far away from Los Angeles. So people would have to drive down, and this gave them the place to stay that you stayed in the magic. And I think to me and my family, a big part of Disney is staying in the magic. We call it the Disney bubble, right? You go and you stay at the resorts and
Same.
you are in Disney 24/7. And that was really developed at Disneyland and with the Disneyland Hotel. So and thank you, Don, for like coming for watching us, because that was really exciting to see you to see someone that was involved with this show and involved with the history of the Disneyland Hotel that could come in and comment on this. But like, I still, when I go out to California, I haven't stayed at the Disneyland Hotel, but that's my favorite location there. I've stayed at Grand Californian. I cannot wait till there's DVC rooms at the Disneyland Hotel, because you feel the history there. And there's so much when walking through that hotel, seeing the history. They have like these murals and everything about the history of that hotel, and it is so cool. And I love that hotel, and I loved this episode. So I agree that towards the end, when they started talking about, like, I kind of liked where they talked about Disney World and maybe the Contemporary and the Poly. But once they got to like the more modern hotels, it's like, nah, you don't need to talk about those. There's nothing. I mean, yeah, they're Disney hotels, but you could skip that. But I think that the history of the Disneyland Hotel, that was fantastic, because, as we said, there were two visionaries here. It was Walt, and then it was the family developed that hotel and really made it the first of the true experiences that you're at this hotel. So I thought it was cool. What about you, Kate? No, wait, you already covered it, right?
Yeah,
I did, but I
started with
wanted to comment on what Derek said. I wanted more about the Disneyland Hotel.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted more
Yeah.
about it, because you're right. It should have been called just hotels or resorts.
Yeah.
But
the birth of Disney hotels or something like that, right? Because it was really about the beginning. It was about the Disneyland Hotel, because the Disneyland Hotel was really the birth of Disney resorts, right? I mean, even though it was owned by the Rather family, it was still the first of its kind, and was then obviously a bit of a model for the future hotels. So it could have been something like the birth of the hotels.
Yeah. Gina says, add that Disneyland Hotel was 80s and 90s, was a free destination in itself. And they talked about that, but Gina was there. So definitely, living an example of, go there. It's like the resort only stays at Disney World. You go there, or just go there for the day visit, and lots of fun stuff. Marianne says the vision to make the monorail go to the hotel. Yes. Back in that time, so amazing. Being a kid, the monorail comes right to your hotel. Having experienced that, it's really, really cool.
I really wish I really wish, of all things, to bring back from the days past of the Disneyland Hotel. That is the thing I want them to bring back. I'm sure they never will, but
is it not running there at the moment?
No, it only runs to Disney, downtown Disney. It doesn't run all the way to the hotel.
It almost makes it to Disneyland Hotel, but not quite.
Right.
Okay. And Chris Rather, who was the son, said it was his father's favorite business venture by far. I can see that, and you can tell that with the love that he put into it.
Yeah.
And as Mary Tracy says, what a wonderful legacy he built. Definitely. Okay. So speaking of hotels, guys, what is your favorite Disney hotel? Pete, we're going to start with you. Favorite Disney hotel?
Animal Kingdom. I love Animal Kingdom Lodge. This idea that you're part part of a safari that you can go out and see these animals. I think it's the ultimate level of immersion. In California, the Disneyland Hotel is my favorite, but in overall, I think the Animal Kingdom Lodge is just, I love it. So, Kate?
Well, Pete stole mine. Mine is also the Animal Kingdom Lodge. Yeah, going out and seeing these exotic animals right outside your door. The food is so good. It's all so good. And mind you, I have to be honest, I haven't stayed in a lot of them. So that's one thing. I don't know if they still do it or not. I do love the Grand Floridian at Christmas. They used to have
With
the gingerbread house. The big gingerbread house.
They're building it as we speak.
Yep. So the Grand Floridian pulls a close second. I love how they sometimes will have the piano player in there. It just feels so regal to me. So I also love the Grand Floridian, but that's me. What about you, Rebecca?
I am very much a toss-up between Wilderness Lodge and the Riviera. I'm a fan of some new money at Riviera. I think it's as beautiful as they get. You've got the most amazing food I've ever had on property is at the Riviera at Topolino's during breakfast. But the quick service there also, Primo Piatto, is just perfect. The views, I mean, the Skyliner going over Caribbean Beach and the water and sitting outside there is the French music that's playing in the background. They have the little coffee bar and it's beautiful. Wilderness Lodge at Christmas is where you cannot get beat. That tree is cabins in Florida is unheard of, right? So getting to experience a woodsy cabin for Christmas is a dream come true. I used to do woods and snow and stuff for Christmas, so getting to kind of relive that here is perfect for me. So I can't pick between the two, but Wilderness Lodge or the Riviera. Sam, how about you?
Oh, it's so hard to pick. I also love Riviera. I love the Beach Club. I love Aulani. But my two favorites, and it's really close, are in California. I mean, Disneyland Hotel is amazing. It would be more amazing because it's so classic and iconic, and the rooms are also quite big. It would be even more amazing if they restored some of its old glory, like having the monorail come all the way to the hotel. But I have to give the number one spot just by a tiny smidge to the Grand Californian. That lobby is just incredible. It's very similar to Wilderness Lodge for people who haven't been to the Grand Californian but have been to Wilderness Lodge. It's grand. It's beautiful. And then, of course, it has like exclusive access to my favorite Disney park, Disney's California Adventure. I mean, what could be better? Derek?
So everybody else is wrong. Because when you close your eyes and someone says Disney Hotel, you think of the Contemporary.
That's true. You're right.
It's got the monorail. It's got Mary Blair. You can walk to Magic Kingdom. It's on the lake. It's got the vacation club things attached. It's the icon of all Disney hotels. How can that not be the best, my favorite Disney hotel? Yes, it has The Incredibles, but that seems to be the trend, so I'm not even counting that. The best Disney hotel is the Contemporary because it is the Disney hotel.
Just because it's the first one I picture, Derek, doesn't mean it's the best. I'm just going to say that.
Oh, but for me, growing up, it was always, can I stay in the Contemporary? Am I ever going to be able to stay in the Contemporary? Having actually stayed there once, it was everything I thought it was going to be. Mm-hmm. So
it's a cool place.
Steve has a vote for the Grand Cal. Gina says Aulani, but Grand Californian and Wilderness Lodge are her 2 and 3. Marianne says true to form for Saratoga Springs Flophouse. Ryan says the Grand Destino, that's at Coronado Springs. Ryan, I actually stayed there like 2 weeks after it opened. it is deluxe for moderate prices.
I've
It
heard
is-
it's amazing. I've heard it's like the
Now-
best kept secret.
They made one mistake. There's no ceiling fans,
Oh,
but you can get like 6 box fans. So in those hot summer days, but the Grand Destino, I will agree, Ryan, is definitely amazing. Dawn is sticking true to form, going to Disneyland Hotel. I will say I've never stayed out there, so I can't judge those fairly. But I mean,
I would vote for that one if you're in California.
okay, definitely.
I think it depends what you're looking for in California, right? If you, I think both. So I would for sure pick both of those over Paradise Pier. But I do think
Okay.
that there are some benefits to both the Grand Cal and to the Disneyland Hotel. If you're looking for that iconic Disneyland history, you want to stay at the Disneyland Hotel. If you're looking for that early and easy park access, you want the Grand Californian
Okay.
into California Adventure.
So I'm going to say Grand Cal wins on location, but Disneyland Hotel wins on everything else. Sorry.
Okay. Because I will say we are looking at going out there because there is a certain draw that is going to be returning to Disneyland soon. A hint, it happens at night. And it's this starts with a one long bass note and should be back at Disney World where it belongs. Guys, the Main Street Electrical Parade is coming back to Disneyland.
Oh, I've seen it there. Yeah.
I did that parade.
It's really fun.
So,
Yes, there are a lot of
has
cats.
Cats view. Lots of cats live there. They're out early in the morning. That's why you never see any. Although I will say, even mice at Disney are cute. But yeah,
You
they have
see
of
lots of cats on like in downtown Disney too. Like in
Yeah.
all of the Disney property in California, you see lots of cats. There's lots of cats.
Okay, next week, guys, we are sticking with Behind the Attraction. We're going to be heading towards the World's Fair of 1964. The 2 episodes we're going to watch are episodes 8 and 10, which are It's a Small World and Hall of Presidents, which originated with the Abraham Lincoln figure for the 1964 World's Fair. So those are the 2 episodes we're going to be watching for next week. So we're going to stick with those. I will say then on November 13th, we're going to have a special episode reviewing Jungle Cruise. It will be at our normal time on that Saturday night, but we will be talking about Jungle Cruise. Going to do it on Saturday, because the following Wednesday will be
Tuesday.
when Shang-Chi comes out. And in 2 weeks. 2 weeks, the 13th. That following Wednesday, we'll be reviewing Shang-Chi because on the 12th, they both come out on Disney Plus Day.
Yeah, so you
Another-
get 2 episodes of the Tuners that week. You get a
Yep.
Saturday
The
episode.
PPs.
You get a Tuesday, then you get a Saturday, then you get a Tuesday again. So that's 3 episodes in only 2 weeks.
It's not just
PP.
Platoon's Day, it's plus
PP.
Saturday.
Plus Platoon Saturday.
PP.
Gina on that Tuesday show for Shang-Chi, Gina will be joining us on camera. So, because we have
Woohoo!
various people heading to Disney World and potentially other issues. So, guys, if you have ideas for shows coming up, I know we have a lot of ones coming up. We've got Hawkeye starting up, then we'll have Boba Fett, but we are looking for other ideas to come in. Email us at plusplatoon@gmail.com. We are on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Thanks, Pete. YouTube at plusplatoon.com. We are on all major podcasting services. Please subscribe, then go over to Apple Podcasts and give us those 5-star reviews and let us know what you think so we can get out to more people, because more people need to be listening to this stuff. If you guys have any questions, please let us know. We are on every Tuesday at 9 o'clock Eastern. And with that, guys, we are going to say good night. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Thanks for watching this week's episode of the Plus Platoon. Be sure to subscribe to the Plus Platoon podcast to keep getting great content each week. Then head over to Apple Podcast and leave those 5-star reviews as they help make the Plus Platoon visible to even more Disney Plus fans. Also, go to YouTube and like and subscribe to the Plus Platoon channel, where you can watch all future episodes live. If you have a question for the Plus Platoon, please send us an email to plusplatoon@gmail.com or connect with us on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram @plusplatoon.
The Plus Platoon is a Disney Plus fan podcast and is not affiliated with the Walt Disney Company or the Disney Plus streaming service. All opinions expressed on the show are solely those of the individual hosts and in no way reflect the views of the Walt Disney Company.
Thanks for watching, and be sure to stay tuned for next week's episode because the Plus Platoon is to be continued.